prime necessity, the ever-conditioned souls are given a chance for liberation in every millennium of creation. The mission of Brahmaji was fulfilled by the grace of the Lord when the four Sanaka, Satukumar, Sanatan, and Sanatan appeared as his four sons. These four sanas were incarnations of the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. So immediately when Lord Brahma started his work, he produced four sons who were incarnations of the knowledge of the Supreme Lord, so it wasn't lost. And as such, they explained that knowledge so explicitly that all the sages could at once assimilate the knowledge without the least difficulty. By following the footsteps of the four Kumars, one can at once see the Supreme Personality of Godhead within oneself. And then Prabhupada goes on to say that every living entity is always distressed in this world because it's a place that at every step one has to meet with some kind of distress. You don't have to read a newspaper to know that. But one who's supported by his past good deeds, not just in previous lives, but in this life also, engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord. So a good deed in this life is so valuable. Just buying a book practically erases all your past karma. You're given a free ticket to Krishna consciousness, no matter how many sins you already had. They're not then he references Bhagavad Gita 7:16, and he says, "The best among the Bharats, four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service to me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute." Did you ever stop to think that, what's the difference between the inquisitive and those that are searching for the knowledge of the absolute? If you try to make that distinction, it's not easy, because in order to search for knowledge of the absolute, you have to be an inquisitive person. So what does that mean, to be only inquisitive? Inquisitive means that you're only interested in mundane things, both subtle and gross, which includes yogis who want to develop all the different cities of powers and everything. That's inquisitive, but it doesn't transcend the material atmosphere to say, no, I want to know who I am and who my creator is. Anyway, these are not pure devotees, those kinds of devotees, but they, as Prabhupada says here, but they have some aspiration to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotional service is without any aspiration. Whether you treat me roughly by your embrace, which, I've been feeling lately, without desire for material profit. It was interesting at this retreat, this Govardhan retreat, this one devotee is dying from pancreatic cancer. He was white as a ghost with, these just startling blue eyes, an Australian devotee. And, he looked like death personified, or he had makeup on, some Japanese kimono or something. And, there he was. He understood that it's that time, come to the Holy Dham, surrendered in the Holy Dham. The Holy Dhams are portals. They are places that beam you up. They are, Prabhupada emphasizes in so many places, come to Vrindavan. At the time of death, he himself set that example. And when you engage yourself very intensely in a retreat or something, especially in the area of particularly in the area of Braj, you can feel it. You can feel that there's something beyond my vision that's here. The Govardhan Hill was 18.6 miles high. And then it comes down by a mustard seed per day for the last 5,000 years. So how tall is it? Well, people, there it is, it's the hill. No, 18.6 miles minus, it was 1.5 centimeters per every mustard seed. So that gets you down only about 1,750 feet. So it's still 18 and a half miles high, but you can't see it. But you can't see the fruits, you can't see the waterfalls, you can't see all the different living entities there because you don't have the vision, but it's there. It's there. And when you're in Govardhan, and when you get a whiff, it's less than a glimpse, but you get it. It's there, and you can't touch it, you can't feel it, but you can sense it. And that's the beginning of the idea that, you know, this process purifies us. So we begin to understand on such a subtle level, a completely different dimensional level, that everything that's described exists, but it's beyond our vision. Anyway, I digress. So therefore, you know, ane abhilasa sunyam, jnana karmadi anavritam, anukulena Krishno, silanam bhaktirutam. One should render loving, transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord favorably and without desire for material profit or gain, or through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. And that's called pure devotional service. And to get there is a very mystical process, because sometimes you're engaged in hearing the pastimes of Krishna. Sometimes you're engaged in doing menial services. Others, you're preaching the holy name to others, or reciting the holy name. And sometimes you're just sitting in silence thinking about how you would like to advance more in Krishna consciousness. And all of those ways, they all contribute to your progress, because you're thinking, you're engaging your senses, and you're beginning to get what is the ultimate absorption in Krishna consciousness, where you're like Tukaram, the great Saint Tukaram, where at age 17 years old, married, kids, a business, you know, it was like he took acid and saw it as it is. You know, he took a drug of transcendental nectar. Not really, it wasn't any drug, it wasn't any soma. I'm using that as an analogy, but he opened his transcendental eyes, saw that everything was Krishna. Therefore, he couldn't distinguish between his wife, his children, his money, anything. And he became somewhat of an avadut. And there are people that happens to, even within our society, we've seen it happen. And I remember one devotee wanted to stay at Radhakund, told Prabhupada, I want to stay in Radhakund. Prabhupada said, no, you can't, you're not qualified to stay in Radhakund, but I want to stay. I don't want to leave this place, you know, because they had some taste there of the transcendental element. And Prabhupada was badgered enough where he said, all right, you can stay, but never leave. I met some people in Govardhan who been there, you know, 10 years, 12 years. Of course, there are others that come and go, like Satchidananda Swami and Burijan and Dhanadhar Swami and many others that come and go. But there are those that do not want to leave. One Australian person, he's not an ISKCON devotee, but he just been there 10 years. He doesn't want to leave. I don't know how he does it with his visa, but you could feel. And then I met a couple of Gaudiya Math sannyasis who have a little ashram there. And you could, you know, I felt the same thing. They just don't want to leave this place. Why? And then I thought to myself, well, actually, it's recommended. And then I thought, wow, Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, but because he had this itch to satisfy Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's order, he left Vrindavan. It must have been, you know, when you're in Vrindavan and you're a pure devotee, you must be experiencing pastimes of Krishna. It must be nectar to be there. And then to leave that portal and go out into, you know, it's almost like science fiction, you know, and you go out into this material atmosphere. It's, what's that movie? it was called, I'll remember in a minute. It was, there was another reality. There was the illusion, and then there were people who found the truth. And when you entered this illusion, it was very difficult. Maya is very difficult to get out of. And yet Prabhupada entered Maya's lap and brought Krishna consciousness to us. It's a big deal, much bigger deal than we think. That's what I got from this last trip to Govardhan. And then Prabhupada also, in these purports leading up to the ones we read today, he quotes Namam Niskrina Mudaha Prapadyante Naradmaha Matya Parita Gyan Asharambhavam Ashritaha. These miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are the lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Prabhupada's consistently relating to Gita in the second canto. So if that liberation, and I ask this question, is possible by simply surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, why don't these intelligent and hardworking leaders in the world adopt this simple method? And of course, they're blinded by their desires. And the Gita answers this question very frankly, that those really learned leaders of society, and who are they? The learned leaders: Brahma, Shiva, Kapila, the Kumars, Manu, Vyas, Devala, Asita, Janaka, Prahlad, Bali, and Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Sri Chaitanya, many others, who are faithful philosophers and politicians and education scientists. They surrender to the lotus feet of the Supreme Person, who's the all-powerful authority. Those who are not actually philosophers, scientists, educators, administrators, but pose themselves as such for material gain, do not accept the plan or path of the Supreme Lord. That's why Prabhupada looked at the educational system, much like we're beginning to look at it today. Look at what's happened at Harvard, how we're now looking at these so-called big academicians and seeing how full of baloney they all are. As Prabhupada said, it's a slaughterhouse. The educational system is a slaughterhouse system. And those of you that have been educated and made it through it, all glories to your steadfastness, because it's a meat grinder for many people. And we lose many people to this speculative knowledge. And Prabhupada goes on to say, they have no idea of God. They simply manufacture their own worldly plans and consequently complicate the problems of material existence in their vain attempts to solve them. That's what we call unintended consequences. Everything they do has a reaction. Electric cars, give me a break. Everybody knows electric cars are not ecological, tearing up the earth for the lithium and the other precious metals. And you would have to run an electric car for 11 years in order for it to offset the carbon that it takes to make one. So what's the value? And they're burning coal anyway to provide the electricity to fuel the car. It's a bait and switch by, Tesla and other people. They know that, but they're selling a lot of cars. So this is how the material energy is operating, and Srila Prabhupada was giving us this knowledge long ago. Thus, the reality is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared, but still the material energy is very powerful, and the atheist, due to his godless temperament, cannot know how it works, nor can he know the plan of the Supreme Lord. Under illusion and the modes of passion and ignorance, all his plans are baffled. And Prabhupada, it goes on to say in an additional purport leading up to the purports we read, the Lord descends to this earth and acts like others. Not quite acts like others, but, so to speak, in connection with the activities of this world, just to create subject matters for hearing about them. So he's thinking about us. He's coming, okay, I'm going to perform a bunch of really cool activities that people can regale themselves over for the next 435,000 years. Otherwise, the Lord has nothing to do in this world, nor has he any obligation to do anything. When you think about it, he's coming into a world that's running on the three modes of material nature. So there's nothing really going on here. It's all run by some, magic AI. When I want to lift my hand, I'm not figuring out how to lift my hand. It's all based on desire. So the whole material world is based on desire. It's not based on will. That's the illusion of things. And then Krishna comes here and he looks around, probably sees it. Oh, it's all, this is a machine that I, inspired Brahma to create, and it's working good. But there's no life here. And yet still he comes into it, creates these wonderful pastimes, brings his associates, because got to bring some life to the party. Everything else is dead matter moving around. And then he brings his associates and performs these terrific pastimes. And then he leaves, finally, because what's the point of sticking around? There's no more he can do except to give us his attraction, his most attractive activities. He comes out of his own causeless mercy and acts as he desires. The Vedas and Puranas are full of, this is Prabhupada speaking, the Vedas and the Puranas are full of descriptions of his different activities, so that people in general may naturally be eager to hear and read something. Generally, however, the modern fictions and novels of the world occupy a greater part of people's valuable time. Such literatures cannot do any good to anyone. On the contrary, they agitate the young mind unnecessarily. Note all those books that you were assigned in English class in middle and high school and college, and increase the modes of passion and endurance, leading to increasing bondage to material conditions. The same aptitude for hearing and reading is better utilized in the hearing and reading of the Lord's activities. But I guess we had to go through, reading Camus and Chartres and all the different philosophers, Nietzsche and Gurdjieff and Ouspensky and all these people. We, in the West and in India, there's a whole list of, in Far East, another list, in China, another list. So I guess, we just have to plow through this and get tired of it to the point where we finally desire to understand the absolute truth. So even though Prabhupada is putting it down, at the same time, I think it has some purpose, because otherwise, were it not for the kind of books that I read, I may not have come to the Bhagavad Gita and seen that it was, looked at it as another source of truth and found that it was the truth. Anyway, it's concluded that the holy name of the Lord and topics in relation with him are always worth hearing, and therefore Krishna is called Nama Dea, or one whose holy name is worth chanting. Modern scientists, they've invented airships, which are material, and the yogis make a still finer material attempt to travel by mind ships. The yogis can reach any distant place very quickly with the help of mind ships, but neither the airship nor the mind ship will have access to the kingdom of God in Vaikuntha. And that's the painful and awful truth, that anything material, no matter how good, it's always going to have some kind of a consequence that we can't predict, and we never have to utilize material elements to actually make our connection with Krishna, because the holy name is purely transcendental, and within that holy name lies all of the potencies, as we all know. Just realizing that takes kala, that takes time. And it's usually a very gradual process, but we all would not have gotten into this gradual process if we had not gotten some ruchi, some taste for devotional service or Krishna's presence, or loved the prasadam so much that we just couldn't avoid associating with devotees and thereby picking up on the vibes of devotional service. But somehow or another, we're all very, very fortunate to have this second canto, to be reading it with the rapt attention that it deserves, because it's another means of purification, so that our consciousness will gradually develop a desire to always hear and chant the holy name of the Lord. And that's the whole purpose, that at the time of death, our mind is infused with thoughts of Krishna's pastimes, or thoughts of the holy name, or thoughts of the spiritual master, and somehow or another connected with Krishna, so that our destination will be not that of those kings and associates who were watching Krishna and Balaram wrestling in the ring in Mathura. They only attained a temporary respite, but devotees are looking for a final solution, and that is simply developing our Krishna consciousness together, where many, many twigs become very strong when working together. So that's our position, and that is our goal, to have the best association and to somehow or another always chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful delivery. We apologize for the earlier on hitches we had here and there, but thanks to the Lord, we were able to get online. So devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, please, you may unmute and go ahead to ask your question. Prabhuji, one of the demons listed in the series of demons in these two texts is Rukmi. And I'm wondering, the scriptures say that one who is a pure devotee, depending on the purity of this devotee, generations before and after him all get relieved from a material existence. It's like they get liberated. And this Rukmi is a direct son of Krishna's consort, Rukmini. So why would he suffer the troubles demons go through, even though they get a liberation, but their liberation is not the same as a Vaishnava who is serving Krishna with all love and devotion?
It's an excellent question. And I don't remember, seeing the answer to that anywhere in Srila Prabhupada's purports, nor do I want to speculate it, but I know that the principle is that everything's based on desire. Mm-hmm. So Krishna is fulfilling everyone's desire. So it would seem to me that soul who's playing the role of Rukmi was chosen to play that role in order to satisfy that desire. Other than that, I think we would just be speculating, because much of what Krishna does is ineffable. You can't understand it with our limited human intelligence. And you wonder. I've asked that question in the past. I said, well, all these people are seeing Krishna's lotus feet, so aren't they liberated into the spiritual world? But according to Shastra, no. So since I do know that everything works on the basis of desire, I can only assume that these particular souls, that's what they wanted. And Krishna gave them what they wanted. Because we don't know who that soul is. It's not Rukmi. It's a soul in Rukmi's body.
Yeah.
So that soul has its own journey.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes these yogis, they want to, when you merge with the Brahmajyoti, I would guess, and I emphasize it's a guess, that you feel like some people have reported feeling one with the universe means you feel like you're God.
Mm.
And there's a lot of people who want every person who goes to Amaji, they want to feel like they're one with God. And she's the living example.
Yeah.
And there's some very nice people, very
Yeah.
wonderful people, very intelligent people. You know, Sridhar, who's the friend of, he's my friend also, does the Bhakti Fest in the West. And a friend of mine who actually rented from me and became interested in Krishna, they took to Amma. Even know that Prabhupada's books are right there. That's how this one girl became a devotee, through Prabhupada's books, but she opted for a different gate at the airport hub. You know how we're all going down the same corridor, and then there's a bunch of gates where, you know, depending on where you want to go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where they bought their ticket to. I would
Yeah.
assume that that's where Rukmi bought his ticket, and Chris said, "Okay, I'll give you a free ride."
Yeah. Well, thank you. Arichakra Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Uh,
Hare Krishna.
thank you for your class. Thank you very much. Yeah, in your when you were speaking, you were talking about how important it is to be more uh, tilted towards knowing transcendental stuff, transcendental knowledge, and not be interested in all these regular type of knowledge. And I've been hearing it over and over again from different speakers, how different speakers talk about this material knowledge that things that we study materially is not important in our life. But I also hear constantly that Prabhupada emphasized that his book be read. And we could realize that if you are not educated, how can you even read Prabhupada's book? And if you are not educated, how can you, if even you take the book, how can you read and understand it? So why do why do a lot of devotees keep emphasizing about, oh, there's nothing is, it's not important to be materially educated, but meanwhile we go out every day to distribute books. So if people are not educated, they don't know how to read and write, how would they even be how would it even be possible for them to read the books that we are distributing to them?
Well, thank you for that question. And actually, it has a pretty simple answer. Because when Prabhupada's referring to education, he's not referring to the 3 R's of education. Obviously, he himself went to Scottish Churches College. So the examples there, the Prabhupada got a British education, you know, which he looks back on and sees as, and describes as a, you know, slaughterhouse. But you have to understand how, you know, Prabhupada, he's most concerned about what happens to the fertile minds of people who think that material education is the key to their success in life. If you go into, I mean, look, he told Garuda to go and get degrees at Harvard and these other schools. He wanted certain of his disciples to carry on in the political sphere. Rupanuga started a political party with Prabhupada's encouragement, or as a tacit approval at least. And Prabhupada was willing to start gurukulas so that those 3 R's could be taught in the context of Krishna consciousness. But education meant in these in that context, liberal educations, not education to become a doctor or study law or become a pharmacologist or whatever it is, but the kind of liberal education that put forth the importance of philosophers who were speculating from Europe and Russia and America and other places and China and so forth, and novels that were social commentaries, etc. And I'll give you a great story that explains Prabhupada's mood about books. He said to Jivananda in 1967 in San Francisco, when he called him to his room, Prabhupada had a box in the corner, and he told Jivananda, he said, "That's for you." And Jivananda opened the box and saw it was full of Gaudiya Math books. And he looked up in surprise and said, "Prabhupada, you told us not to read these books." Prabhupada said, "Yes, but you are intelligent. You can read." The point being that Prabhupada's giving sweeping statements, generalizations. Every case will be different. And it's certainly not about learning the basics of reading and writing and arithmetic. But from his point of view, all of the teachings of the solar system and of the historical accounts, which are usually not true anyway, and English tasks that you have to do to write things and read things, he sees them all as useless in the context that you could die at any second. You should really just do those things that are essential and pursue Krishna consciousness. Most of us can't do it. I read, I'm a news junkie. I'm always hoping that the world's going to blow up tomorrow, so I don't have to worry anymore about my ambitions. I mean, we all have our things. We're as said, we're like 1% Krishna conscious, but we're trying to go up. So just understand that's contextual. It's not dogmatic. And Prabhupada certainly made plenty of overtures to devotees to carry on with and even Peter Burwash, he said, don't get initiated. He was doing more service. And with George Harrison, he said he doesn't need initiation. There's always exceptions to all these things. You just have to, we can't be dogmatic. We have to understand Prabhupada broadly. And then everything becomes much clearer. He said we shouldn't take anything with cacao in it, but he ate chocolate himself, sometimes asked for it. So, you have to understand all these things and put it all together. And somehow or another, it's not easy because it appears contradictory. But when you see it in the context of the time, the place, the circumstance, it all tends to make sense.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Well, Prabhuji, I had lots of questions, but I think I have a follow-up question to the question you just answered. Because when you were answering the question, you also talked about this devotee, Jivananda, whom Srila Prabhupada called him and said, "Okay, this thing is for you." He opened and it was Gaudiya Math books. And he said to Srila Prabhupada, "But you've asked us not to read these books." And Srila Prabhupada said, "But you are intelligent. You can read." Does that mean that those devotees in ISKCON who are intelligent should read those books, and those who are not intelligent enough should not read those books?
Well, that would be a speculation. Any answer would be a speculation, but I can say this. It means to me that following the order of the spiritual master is superior knowledge. And therefore, if Srila Prabhupada gave a general instruction not to read the books, but gave a specific instruction, the specific overrules the general because he knows the heart of that disciple.
So the general instruction is not to read those books, right?
Yes, that's correct.
That's the general instruction. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then let me go back to my original question I had. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, text 5, Krishna talks about...
Sorry, Prabhu, your voice is faint. Your voice is faint. We are not hearing you.
Oh, really? Let me see. Is it better now or still low?
Not much, not much.
Yeah, you have a very, very low voice today. I sent a chat earlier.
Okay.
Well, you can go ahead.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
So
we can manage.
So I don't know why that is the case. Okay, thank you. Antakale Chama Beva. So whatever one may remember, think of at the point of death, one will attain that nature. Of this, there is no doubt. And Salika Prabhu, if you may go back to the text today, the text we discussed today. Srila Prabhupada also says a similar thing.
Correct.
That, okay, if you stop there, where it says, all persons, after the first canto, all persons who participated in the battlefield of Kurukshetra or otherwise with the Lord or with Baladev, etc., would benefit by attaining spiritual existence according to the situation of their minds at the time of death. So, which buttresses what Krishna has said. Now, my question is, there are some unfortunate situations where somebody may develop this terrible disease called Alzheimer's disease or dementia, where this person can no longer think. Even if the husband is before her, she cannot recognize the husband. His instincts is even gone. If even a car is knocking him down, the instinct to move away is gone. Under such conditions, then how does such a devotee of the Lord, somebody who has served the Lord for so long, and a later part of his life has developed this condition, what is his fate?
Well, it's pretty obvious to me, but you must know the answer to that question. It's pretty obvious.
No, Prabhu, I don't know.
I'll quote the Bible. I'll quote the Bible. Ye of little faith. Are we gonna worry about, oh my God, I don't want to die unless I can think of Krishna. I mean, how am I going to do that? We're going to be in anxiety the rest of my life thinking, oh, I don't know how I'm going to remember Krishna. Krishna will make arrangements. He's grateful to his devotees. We don't have to separately endeavor. If we don't think of him, he'll think of us. That's, this is a descending process. It's not ascending. You're still putting it into the area. Of course, Prabhupada says that.
Jesus never said,
but Krishna will instill us with thoughts of him at the time of death. He will, just like with Tukaram, Lord Vital had to take the form of Tukaram to bring his wife groceries for the party she was going to have. He had to carry something for his wife in another guise or something because Tukaram was up the hill meditating and she couldn't get up there because it was too steep. All these things. Krishna always, he carries what we have, provides what he carries. What is that saying? He provides what we need and carries what we lack.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm counting on it. Are you kidding me? With my memory, I'm counting on it, man.
Me
Yeah.
too, Prabhuji. Yeah. I
He
count.
said, listen, and you know that verse where in the Sri Upanishad, remember all my sacrifices,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Come on. I can't even tell you how much I tried to do stuff for you this lifetime. And of course, that's not the best consciousness, but I'll take whatever works.
Yeah.
I'm not going to think God's going to abandon me. There's that very famous story about the guy walking in the sand with God. And then they sees his footprints, 4 footprints in the sand, and they're walking along the beach. And then, he only sees 2 footprints on the beach. And he said, God, where did you go? Why did you abandon me? God said, I didn't abandon you. That's when I was carrying you.
Yeah.
So I'm counting on that.
Yeah.
God's my friend. He's not he's not some strict teacher in a parochial school. It's going to say, hey, remember that time you chanted 15, not 16 rounds that day? You're not qualified. I'm not interested in worshiping a God like that.
Yeah. Me neither, Prabhuji.
Ours is a loving God.
Yeah.
He's all love, and he's very forgiving for everything. He just sees our service, and we're on the path home back to God. And that's why Prabhupada gave us this system of joyful chanting, dancing, prasadam, festival. He wanted everything to be joyfully performed because he knew that in this day and age, you can't perform austerities. And when you do, you just get hard-hearted. Think you're doing, I know people that, fast all day in Ekadasi. Because it's stated, if one fasts all day, makes it, do this, do that. I think, I just think I want to do what Prabhupada did. He didn't fast on Ekadasi. If I can just do what he did, that would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Not there yet.
Yeah. So, Prabhuji, should we understand it that what Krishna said in 8.5 and what Srila Prabhupada is also saying in this purport actually applies to demons and maybe yogis, but not specifically his bhaktas? Because with his bhaktas, if even the particular bhakta was unable to think of him at the point of death, he will think of him and then come to receive him.
That's my Krishna. I don't know who your Krishna is.
Hare Krishna, Hare
You want to think that Krishna consciousness is a formula like E equals MC squared. It doesn't work that way.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So,
One thing about getting older, like, I'm old now, I'm, actually old now. You can say like Prabhupada said, you can say any damn thing you want. You don't care anymore. This is my realization. This is where I'm at. This is where I want. This is how I understand Krishna consciousness. I'm not trying to satisfy a GBC or some local guy, or I don't care what they think.
I love that, Prabhuji.
It's your birthright. Everyone has it. We just get, we're people pleasers.
Yeah.
We don't need to be Prabhupada pleasers, not people pleasers.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I'm having some problems with my audio, so it seems lots of devotees are not hearing me clearly and loudly. But we'll see. If anyone has question, comment, please, you may unmute and ask Prabhuji before.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sadif, thank you very much. Prabhu, let me ask you a question that seems to be in a modern day language, he said a trending question. The devotees, according to the tradition of Vaishnava, the Prabhupada gave to us, there are rules and regulations to follow. And the process of sadhana bhakti means that we have to follow certain rules and regulations. You mentioned something right now when you were answering Sadi Prabhu in regards to Ekadasi. Our Prabhupada sometimes does not really fast dry throughout the day. We've seen that even in India, some devotees on Ekadasi, they have a lot of preparations, they eat, but they fast from grains. So taking this further, in 21st century, there is this issue about an average person uses an Android phone or mobile phone. And in our platform, there was this conversation going on today where someone is saying that, responding to a statement by one of our senior god brother, that if someone opens his phone before chanting 16 rounds in the morning, he is considered to be non-disciple. And we're wondering, sometimes we understand the basis behind this reasoning, but sometimes we see that circumstances sometimes makes you to, when you wake up in the morning, you want to check what is emergence or something. I'd like to hear your opinion on this, because some devotees feel that one cannot disobey the order of the guru also. So please, I'd like you to shed light on this.
NRSIMHANANDA Prabhu.
I guess my question is, I'll answer the question. Doesn't this guru have something better to think about? As they say, Krishna consciousness is simple for the simple and complicated for the complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prabhupada.
Keep it simple, stupid. KISS, K-I-S-S. Keep it simple. Chant 16 rounds a day, best you can. Do the best that you can every day.
Yeah.
Follow the 4 regular principles. And as Prabhupada said, when he finished the 16 rounds one day, put his beads down, said, there, now I can do any damn thing I want. It's pretty simple. I don't know why people want to, control people and make it complicated and add all this stuff to it. So many restrictions. No! Don't use that. Don't use that rag. Why? Because that's meant for the. It's like, okay, I got it. It's not like you have to get everything doesn't have to be perfect. Prabhupada was very clean. He was very clean himself. So it's good to be clean, But, brahmachari ashrams aren't particularly clean. As clean as they can make it.
Yeah.
That shouldn't stop them from having a good time and a good sleep. Hey, you didn't sweep the thing out there. I'll do it tomorrow. I'm tired. It's okay. Mellow out, chill. We got a long road ahead of us here. Right? So how are you going to do it if you're uptight all the time? You're going to just spin out of control. It's going to be too frustrating. Especially the way our society's set up. And now you got, I'm not going to give you, let's see, Bhakti Vikas Swami won't give people, he tells people, oh, you're a Sudra, you're a Vaishya, you're a Kshatriya, you're a Brahma. Oh, you don't get second because you're a Sudra, because you have a job, this, that. It makes it so complicated. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Oh, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
You
Thank you so
you you
much.
you are as sweet as gulab jamun.
No, I just can't imagine myself in your mouth. I'm sorry.
Hare
Yeah.
Thank you so
We
much.
have to be sweet. We have to be sweet.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's what attracted us in the first place, the
Yeah.
sweetness of the Vaishnavas.
Yeah.
And then we get in positions and we all of a sudden become bitter.
Yeah.
Why? What's the point? Life's too short.
Yeah.
Already it's too short. We don't know how short it is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at the horizon. I'm practically on top of it. It's kind of cool. You get more like, yeah. You know, I don't even think about, oh, my next birth, I'm going to go by Quinter. I just think, you know, okay, whatever that transition is, my job is to surrender. That's my job. I'll leave you with this. I asked my brother-in-law, who I go to for advice. He's a doctor. He's a couple of years older than I am. I said, George, I need some advice. He said, I know. I said, George, I have a problem. He says, I don't have any problems. I said, what do you mean you don't have any problems? You're married to my sister, for God's sakes. He said, God owns everything, including the problems. All I have is the next indicated action. That's Krishna consciousness. Krishna owns everything, even our thoughts he owns. All we have to know is, what do we do next? What do I do next? Oh, it's time for this, time for that. And our life will pass very peacefully. For the most part, until it doesn't. So I'll leave you with that lesson, life lesson.
Thank you
God,
very much,
God owns
Prabhuji, for
Yeah, thank you.
Panchakapatirubhyascha Kripasindhuvyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo
that.
Namo. Till next time.
Patitanam Vaishnavyo, Vaishnavyo, Namo Namo. So we request all of the devotees to please kindly unmute. Let us loudly chant a powerful Hare Krishna Maha mantra to appreciate NRSIMHANANDA Prabhu for this wonderful sangha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hey,
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram
Ram Ram.
Hey, Hare
His
Krishna.
Grace NRSIMHANANDA
Srila Prabhupada
Prabhu
ki.
ki jai.
Salika.